Okay, so we want to continue the conversation that we're having on Circus Talk about warm-ups. Before we get into the details, the nitty-gritty of which exercises you choose, what order you put them in, I wanted to discuss with you guys this concept of how much space you occupy. Okay, how much space you occupy during your day-to-day life, walking around, working. Okay, generally our sort of bubble or our sphere of motion is fairly restricted compared to the amount of motion or the amount of movement we create when we're doing athletic motion or circus activities. Okay, so this concept of warming up is, okay, how do we actually progressively take our body through larger ranges of motion that we need in our circus activity, okay? And that's kind of one of the main important concepts, and this is this concept of mobility, yeah, or flexibility. How mobile are you? How far can you reach out? Yeah, so if you imagine you've got this kind of, you're drawing an imaginary line around the outer rim of where your fingertips reach, how far is that bubble? Yeah, how far can you reach? Because we really need to be warming up in that entire space, okay? And we're not just working in one plane of motion, we're working in 3 different planes of motion, which we'll come on to in a second. So this concept of flexibility or mobility, joint mobility, is really important. We need to make sure that we're taking our body through adequate ranges of motion that will be required for your circus activity. So, let's take an example. If we explore this range of motion out over here, it's important that we can get there, but what's really important is that we can hold that position and be stable. Yeah, so it's useful to get into a position, but if we haven't got any stability or any resilience in that position, we're going to be prone to injury. Yeah, knee out, shoulder out, tendon problem. So, working flexibility, i.e. stretching, as part of your warm-up is important, but you need to be confident that you can hold those positions with control. Yeah, so this fusion of stability versus stability. If you've got a fusion of the two, you're onto a winner. Another example, if you're arching backwards, yeah, and you're completely floppy, yeah, boom, low back. A lot of stress on the lower back. But if you're thinking about engaging the glutes, shifting the body weight forward through the hips, extending up, yeah, straight away you're getting into that extended position, but you're protecting the lower back a little bit more. So just being mindful of fusing this idea of control of your movement whilst you're exploring the realms of possibility, okay? To add another level of complexity on top, it's this idea of strength, because it's all very well moving, yeah, like this, under control, but what happens when we layer ground reaction force? So we actually add a jump, some impact through the body, or we add the idea of having to traction and pull our body weight. So we've got the idea of 60 kilograms of body weight, okay, in a position we've decided to get into, you know, with control. So this idea of we've got enough flexibility to, for example, reach up for a bar or a rope. We've got the range of movement available. We can actually be stable and strong in that position. And we can then actually progressively load, and we don't break or fault. Okay? So the idea for warm-up for me is explore the range of motion, make sure that you have stability under low load and progressively high loads, according to what you're about to do. Okay? One extra concept is this idea of planes of motion. Very important that you move through the 3 main planes of motion and play around, fuse them together. Because a lot of warm-ups are done in the sagittal plane, you know, because you're going forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, and we're not doing much twisting, transverse plane. So when we think about warm-ups, I want you to think about the 3 main planes: your sagittal plane, you know, your frontal plane, so moving forward, moving back, and transverse plane, yeah, rotation. Very important. A simple example would be in walking, yeah, sagittal plane, anterior walking, posterior walking. So moving in the sagittal plane forwards and moving in the sagittal plane backwards. Okay? You can be more complex, so it could be hopping in the frontal plane, yeah? Hopping in the frontal plane posteriorly, working in the frontal plane, hopping to the side, hopping to the side. Can we do that in the transverse plane? Yeah, we can hop and turn. Yeah? These types of concepts, so thinking about how we can move in different planes with good control. And we can make that as simple or as complex as you like. And a little bit later we'll show you some examples.